Hello, thank you for joining in. I'm doing a little extra video this week because today is the last day to grab your copy of Aftermath, my cinematic soundset for Diva, at an introductory price at the Triple Spiral Audio website. Here it is, but I'll link it in the description as well. Diva has also very recently been updated to version 1.4.4, I believe, with some major improvements on the multi-core systems. Here it is, other than Catalina support for Mac users and much more. So if you don't have this synthesizer, please consider getting it because it's absolutely fantastic. It's really one of the things that I use the most, and it just sounds absolutely incredible. I thought I could do a little walkthrough of the track that I wrote as a demo. It's part of the SoundCloud playlist which we made for Aftermath. You can get it on my SoundCloud, probably a link to this one as well. And it features a lot of really great composers. It's really great music. I think that they basically took some time off their busy schedule to come up with some music that I use as my soundset. So please do have a listen, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Let's go to the track. This track is called Night Savior. It consists of 13 Diva patches, I believe, but there is also some extra stuff, including me playing guitar pretty badly. Well, let's have a listen. There is no mastering on this one other than a little limiter which I used to catch a couple of transients. Like the point of writing demos for a soundset is to use as much as you can, so it's very rich in harmonic content. So mixing this one was actually incredibly challenging, and I actually did a few more tweaks after the session during the mastering. But here it is, pretty much raw, but we'll go through what I did. Hope you enjoy it. Alright, so you can tell it's very obviously synth heavy, but I really had some fun with the guitar. The only known aftermath things that are there. You probably notice is obviously the guitar. And then when I wrote this track, actually I bought this incredible synth little box. This is called the Volca drum. If you're not familiar with the Korg Volca series, do have a look, because they make pretty cool little modular system of little synths. This is their drums module, and they use the ear for the little hats that I process in several ways, and like I got some kicks here and there, and some beats, but we'll go through it. Actually, try to expand this one so that you can check the name of the patch that I use from Aftermath. So it just opens with this very simple pad. So this is one of my favorites actually from the soundset. It's called Campanelle. I said already that Campanelle in a previous video, that Campanelle it means little bells in Italian, but it's actually a very old-fashioned way to call the glockenspiel in Italian. As you know, you'll find it in orchestration manual from 70, 80 years ago, and I sort of, since glockenspiel is actually is an instrument that I use a lot in my orchestral works, I try to create something that was synthetic and sort of recall it a little bit, and here it is. Processed it with nothing that changed the sounds completely, but EQ'd it pretty heavily, slightly compressed it. It works together with this other arpeggiated sound. It's called arpeggi. Pretty simple. It works with this. Together with yet another arpeggio. Together with yet another arpeggiated sound called bubbles. It's how they sound together. Bubbles has been EQ'd a little bit. I really wanted to maintain this bit of the sound to stand out. And I got some resonating frequencies. And distorted it slightly with saturation plugin, which is Black Box by Analog Design. Okay, for this section, to come to the non-Diva sounds, I used and I processed it with some delay and some EQ, the balls from Sonokinetic, if I remember well. I really love this sample library, and balls are such a important tool to have when scoring to picture. It's really part of the vocabulary now. Without delay, pretty simple. This is with the delay. Oops, sorry. And here are the beats. This is from recorded sample straight from the Volca. So these are normal hat groove, which I distorted pretty heavily with the Lysia character, compressed it quite heavily with BX Opto, and again mixed them to get rid of all the low frequencies that are not needed. Here's without the processing. Still sound pretty cool, I must say. But the lower part of the frequency is really cool by itself, but there was really no space for it in this context because of the huge quantity of bass sounds that are in there. So here's how it came out. That's the guitar, by the way. This is me playing very badly. I had to do a few takes. Again, processed with this is my probably one of my favorite channel strips from you know, like is an emulation of an SSL console by Brainworks. Compressor, and probably my favorite EQ, Mag EQ4, especially works great with guitar. This without processing. This with. Actually, in terms of the sound, this is, well, my Stratocaster, as you probably saw in the video. One thing that I use, which I'm loving, is my Line 6 Helix, which is now off, which is here. But let me see if I can recall the patch that I used to record this. I can show you exactly what I did. It's disconnected. Let me turn it down quickly. Well, while it loads, I'll keep going and I'll show you as soon as it's ready. On the second part, we have sound effects from Diva, which from my set starter map. This sounds absolutely huge, and this is actually heavily processed because it's like it sounds like this naturally out of the box from my cinematic sound set. Okay, very reverberant downer. I sent it to Valhalla Vintage Verb, which I EQ'd. This is an 80s sort of metallic synthol. Process this so to get rid of the low frequency before the reverb, but also to enhance a little bit of this, you know, range around 2K, and there is also some delay as well. Again, Replica XD, and then I used this to distort it. Great plugin, Lindell 7X500. Use this to distort it pretty heavily, and then one off filter, which is automated this way. Okay, in the meantime, my Helix is loaded, so this is the patch that I used for the guitar. I made this patch is from scratch, but it's pretty simple. So it's like a stereo path, and I'm using on the left channel a US Deluxe normal channel, which is pretty much a Fender Deluxe, a model of the Fender Deluxe, and on the right one is like sort of an Hewitt amp, and just process them with a slight delay, like a Bucket Brigade model, and with a pretty huge reverb. Now, one word of advice when recording, recording guitar with baked in reverb, is that you need to make sure that, well, first of all, that the reverb fits the arrangement, the context that you're using it, and then you also need to be pretty spot on with your performance, because then time stretching it means to also time stretch reverb and delay, which can get pretty ugly. So I had to actually do quite a few takes, because I'm a pretty bad guitar player, and I needed a take that I didn't need to stretch too much. Actually, don't think that I stretched it at all, so it was okay in the end, but just, a word of advice with that. Then here there is the bass sound from Aftermath. It's called Consequences. Let's solo it. Pretty simple sound. I used subsynth. filter modulator via mod wheel. What do we have up here? Okay, then the lead sound introductions. Pretty classic analog synth type sawtooth lead with another arpeggiator called 1987, the year I was born. Okay, quickly the rhythm. You have here the same hats as before, but these are how the kick sounds from the Volca kick, and you can tell that here I process them really heavily. In the end, there is also some delay. Limiter to control the sound a little bit. Here the delay kicks in as a transition to the next section. Alright. Was together with the hats here, obviously. Loads of reverb. Got rid of the delay on the hats that was here. Okay. And then use some Volca, Korg Volca here as well for this transition. Another kind of kick. I use it with this also bass heavy pulse from Aftermath. So you can tell why mixing this was hard. Huge harmonic content, very distorted. Oh, let me show you this one. This is actually probably one of my favorite FX patches from Aftermath. It's called Exemper Tyrannis. This basically works in a way that if you play 2-note, it has a huge gliding glissando kind of thing, and it sounds like this. And obviously it will work the same way if you would use it as a riser kind of thing. Very slow gliding effect, which I think works really well for this kind of transitions. Another arpeggiator. This soundset is full of arpeggiated patches. Yet another one called Casio Tones. Here it is for the second part. This is fun. Yet another bit from the Kolga, from the Volca. And the final big lead sound, which is called Serendipity. Let's hear all the final section with all the tracks. Okay, and I mean, I forgot to mention, but there are also a couple of brams and subs sounds just at the very beginning to, punctuate, to accent a couple of sections. But it's pretty aftermath heavy. There are other composers in the SoundCloud playlist which used only aftermath. It's normally stated in the track description, and I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, I really love Diva. It's one of my favorite synths, and this is the reason why I made a soundset for it. Today is the last day to get it at an introductory price. It'll go to up to around 22 euros, if I remember well. On the Triple Spiral Audio website, you can grab it now for about 18. VAT included, and hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. There is another video coming out this week, and I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.